We're out in the Piston Broke garage, just giving you a bit of an update on the bike projects, and mainly just giving myself an excuse to try ClipChamp, which is a new Microsoft video editing program that hopefully will add a bit more pizzazz to my awesome videos, because you can see the dreary lighting in here doesn't help much. So to start off with, some tools, some updated tools. So I'll get it off my ugly mug here. And first off, for quite some time, I've read about how awesome these detail belt sanders are. Couldn't really find any other than air-powered ones for pretty significant price. So I bought this Wen one, W-E-N, on eBay. I think it ended up being about 40 bucks Canadian, which is quite a steal of a deal. Comes with 2 or 3 other belts. You can see it's a narrow one, 1/2 inch wide by 18 inch with various grits here. But those that have one swear by them. They're great for detail work. Oftentimes it's for woodworking projects, but at the same time they're also great for doing work on metal, steel, aluminum, that sort of thing. Because we all know how evil angle grinders can be. They will cut through an inch of steel if you're not paying attention very quickly. So haven't even tried that yet. The online reviews have been pretty positive. So when it comes time to likely do some detail work on the Ducati 680, I'll be sure to break that thing out. But yeah, it was just one of those online prices that couldn't go wrong. Next, we have a laser flywheel holding tool. So I plan to be using this this tool on both bikes in the near future. First off, on the 848, those bikes are known to have a bit of an issue. By the way, the box is empty. I've already put it in my special Ducati tool, Rubbermaid. These bikes are notorious for having shift spring failures, so there is an upgraded part. Mine's a 2008. The spring might have been updated, it might not have, but a spring failure ends your day at the track. So for the sake of my own sanity, when I get the bike fired up in the spring, I'm going to swap out the coolant for water, of course, drain the oil, change the filter, and while I'm at it, take off the flywheel, which is required to replace the shift spring component, replace it with the upgraded Ducati parts. So I've removed flywheels before, but again, it's always been a bit of a question taking it off to start with, either with an impact gun or something like that. And if it does start to spin, then you've really got no way to holding it down. Whereas this is the proper Ducati tool that Laser has copied, and that'll hold that flywheel in place. But I also plan to use it on the 680. Why? Because, again, more eBaying out of the UK this time. Luigi Moto, which is a very well-known Ducati shop out of the UK, must have came across this in its storage facility, because this is for 3-wire alternator carbureted Ducati 750s and 900s, and I emailed the guy and they said, hey, I've got a 3-wire alternator carbureted 600, will it work? And he said yes. It wouldn't be the first time where a seller said something would work and it wouldn't, but this really does appear that it will work no problem, because obviously the splines haven't changed forever, and it does have similar punch marks on this rotor. So as you can see here, that's where the rotor holding tool fits in on each side. So I'll be able to take that off and replace it. I did have some prior experience with these super lightweight alternator rotors. Like this is, I think, around a pound maybe. And the 600 Monster did have a lighter than usual flywheel compared to some other machines, but I did put a lightweight Nichols one on a 900 SS that I rebuilt, and looking back, it was a bit foolish, but I ended up riding it more on the street than I did on the track initially. But what these things will do is that they're so light, they can make it, to me, it sounded like the bike was out of time. Somehow I'd put the spline on wrong, or didn't get this marking hole lined up with the keyway. That isn't the case. You know, Ducatis kind of lope along at a nice low relaxed idle because of considerable flywheel weight. So the 680 is intended to be a track bike only. Having a nice lopey regular idle is not that critical when I can have the bike spin up a bit faster, which is the ultimate benefit of a lightweight flywheel. So this tool will aid in swapping this out, but I've learned from past experience that I want to get that engine running properly, ideally with the FCR carbs. Maybe I'll go back to the Mikuni carbs if I can't get it to run properly. I think I will though. Make sure I have it running correctly before I swap out the flywheel, because I'd rebuilt the 900 SS, and well, the engine's apart, I might as well put on the flywheel anyway, and it ran poorly at idle, which sort of gave me a false idea that I had some problem with the machine, whereas I put on the stock alternate flywheel, and of course it ran perfectly. So anyway, a lesson I learned back in 2008, 2009. I'm much older and wiser now, or if nothing else, much older now. So those are some future activities that will happen when the weather warms up. It is nearly March, so we're getting there weather-wise. So that will go back. It's fascinating seeing a man put the lid back on a box. Okay, so filthy car, because it's that time of year where it's kind of warm, and anyway, you don't want to look at that. So unveiling the machine. This is my very fancy oil container. See, 2.8 liters Ducati 90R. So this is where we're at. Not a whole lot of obviously visible work done on the 680, but a few things have happened. First off, I think I told you in the past about these fancy made in China titanium brake banjo bolts that I got, and again, I don't know if it was how the threads were cut on the brake banjos or the crush washers that came with them, but 4 out of 6 leaked, and I wasn't going to put any more torque on these bolts for fear of wrecking them to try to stop the leak. So I did swap them out with some old ones I had, old ones in the proper pitch, some of which are very easy to safety wire. So that's that there. I also, I guess, did some more research on gearing and kind of finalized it. Hopefully this is bright enough for you guys to see. But just looking at gearing, I've got some options here. So I did have a 14 tooth front sprocket. I did have a 36 lying around, which, doing some investigation, was close to the correct gearing, you know, in terms of standard gearing. So what I ended up doing is, again, just do some diligent eBaying and looking for deals. As I've said in some of my previous videos, some of these parts are just becoming less and less valuable to your typical consumer. So an alloy 520 pitch rear sprocket for an SS fitment, you know, there's not too many people wanting those anymore. So that's a nice Renthal sprocket that I got. I think it was around $40 Canadian plus shipping, so that was a great deal. Came here super quick. So I went with a 3915, which is similar to the 1436 that I had on, and very close to the stock gearing. A bit shorter, meaning I'll have a bit more acceleration and pickup, as they say on the track. The only thing is that I'm not sure the origin of this chain. It was in my pile of goodies. I can't tell if it's a DID or an EK or an RK chain or whatever, and it's still new. Like there's still the packing grease on it. The grease is so thick that it looks like there's kinks in the chain, but it's just the grease and the fact that it's cold and it hasn't been run. The only thing is that I have no idea. That does spin it. See, you know, that's, again, it's just the grease. It's on there so thick, it's almost hard to turn the... It only has a clip master link to it. So it's funny, for years when I had like the EX 500 and the Ninja 650 even, I think, and maybe even the Ducati 900 I ran with a clip master link because knowing that those bikes didn't make a huge amount of horsepower, I usually bought a 520 non-O-ring chain from the local dirt bike shop, and they were cheaper, and they came with clip master links. And you know, being a race bike, and you know, the chain was maintained constantly, the non-O-ring actually cut down on some driveline losses. Measurable? Absolutely not. The price was nice, but the idea that a racing chain does not really need an O-ring, considering how much you service this thing. So again, you can see that, you know, with the O-ring and the grease that's packed into this chain, it's kind of stiff there. But anyway, what I might obviously leave this for a while, again, making sure that the bike runs properly and, you know, the quote proof of concept works. We used to even safety wire the clip link. I'm not sure that was even smart to do, but nowadays, when you know a proper riveting tool is not that expensive, and a rivet master link is you know, another $10, it would make sense to swap that out. The problem is that I don't know what kind of chain that is. I have 2 or 3 rivet links for, I think they're EK chains, and the pin is too thick. The girth is too wide to fit in the rivet hole. So anyway, I'm not sure I want to try to, you know, guess as to what kind of chain this is and then maybe get the wrong rivet link, but I'll try to do some more investigation. Maybe there'll be a punch mark somewhere or some engraving somewhere that'll tell me what kind of chain this is. But again, it was something I had lying around in the spares kit, probably purchased along with some other parts. So if I do end up just buying a MX non-O-ring chain, it's not going to be too terrible. So then around to the other side, and you know, in the middle of the Canadian winter when there's not much to do, you end up Googling and doing research. And those of you who have been around since the outset know that this is a pretty trick set of titanium headers, or at least the pipes are titanium. They weigh nothing, and they were originally designed for a Monster 400 or you know, I think an SS 400. These pipes will probably fit on a 350 F1 as well, depending on where the carbs are oriented. Anyway, it's very cool, and of course I finished off the exhaust with this megaphone and got Brent at Ironcraft to do all this amazing welding here. But the header pipes, as you can see, aren't the biggest. Even the stock Monsters had 40 millimeter header pipes, which are about 1.5 OD. These are less than that. So, you know, again, what kind of horsepower difference is that going to make? Are we talking about 2 or 3, or are we talking about 10? Probably not 10, but 2 or 3 horsepower in a bike that doesn't make that much horsepower, that's going to be noticeable. So anyway, it's on my mind. I'm thinking about it. There are stainless 2-into-1 transitions that are available, and I do have, you know, some leftover 40 millimeter headers from either a Monster or an SS in my Rubbermaid full of exhaust parts. So it wouldn't be too difficult to fabricate something up, and I wouldn't finish weld it, but with stainless I can tack weld the pipes in the orientation I want, and Brent will finish weld for me. But this is a pretty cool system, and again, the weight is what attracts me the most about it. I think this whole system weighs less than the one front header pipe from the Monster or the SS that I have, but you're kind of wondering how much horsepower you're giving up by those smaller diameter headers, especially if I do some top end work. It's like anything, if I can force more air into the engine, great, it should make more power, but then I got to get that air out of the engine because a motorcycle engine is just one big pump. So anyway, that's the updates. That's where things are at right now. I hope in the near future I'll be getting things warm enough to get this thing fired up and running and make sure those beautiful key and carbs work their way they're supposed to do, because I have taken them apart 2 or 3 times and scoured them, so they should be clean. I might also look into doing a bit more work on the tank. I'm not sure what grit of sandpaper I use to get this brushed finish. I'm not going to paint it. I like the brushed aluminum finish, but I might go at it with maybe 800 grit, or even that green scrubbies. That's the technical term, green scrubbies. And maybe some WD-40 to just give it a different look. But as you can see, it's got some battle scars on it, and this repair down here, and I kind of like that look to it. You call it patina if you want. So yeah, like I said, not a whole lot of information to talk about, not a huge update, but at the same time, I'll take this awesome footage and edit it with ClipChamp and see what the end result is. So anyway, spring is coming soon enough. I can't wait, and yeah, check back soon. Tell your friends, like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.